watching this video has made it clear that there's additional.
I'm just hearing noise now. Again, speak up. It made it clear what?
There is additional investigation that we need to do based off of this video, and we cannot do that in the middle of a Jackson Dental hearing. Again, this video is nearly 5 years old, and we just got it this morning when we came to court in the middle of a Jackson Dental hearing. This is going to impact the questions that are asked, and more importantly, Judge, this is going to impact the questions that are not asked. If we go forward with this, because it's not just a matter of we can question some witnesses and then come back and follow up later on. We need to be aware of everything that is out there so that we know what questions not to ask the witnesses, because if we ask those questions and then later find out that we should not have, that has the potential to actually to impart great harm upon Mr. Baker and his case. And we don't want to be in any sort of a situation whereby our actions, we are harming our client, that we're providing ineffective assistance in any way. And so at this point, we just do not believe that we can continue today on the Jackson Dental hearing. We would agree with the court that it would make sense to put up Officer Phillips and lay that foundation for the video from the dash cam. I don't know that we could agree or concede to admissibility today. I think likely that's where we would go, but I think at the very least we can get the foundation for the admission of the video laid so that we can, whenever we then come back on this, actually get it admitted, and most likely would agree to admission, but that would give us the additional time to do the investigation we need in order to effectively represent Mr. Baker in all of his interests. It's just, it is impossible for us to go forward when we are presented with, as of now, the only video evidence that we are aware of, or that we have been provided from the scene. So not only is there investigation that we need to do, Judge, we would also ask that the court instruct the state to reach out to every single officer, every single person that they are aware of or that could have possibly been on that scene, and follow up with them to see if they also had body cam footage, if they could be hiding in a junk drawer in their home somewhere. Again, this is 5 years later, and this evidence should have been turned over 5 years ago, 4 years ago, 3 years ago, and that is part of the problem. Is if they would have given us this video even 3 years ago, or even 2 years ago, or that would have been more typical even 1 year ago, we would have had the ability to be prepared for this hearing. But for a 5-year-old video to suddenly appear at the start of the second day of the hearing puts us in a bind and makes it impossible for us to move forward on the Jackson Dental in an effective manner.
Well, I'm not sure if it's what's contained in the video that puts you in a bind, or the fact that it was produced in year 5.
I'm sorry?
Is it the fact that it was produced so late that it's old? You mentioned that several times, that it puts you in a bind, or what's on the video itself?
It is both things, Judge. Because watching the video goes directly to some of the previous testimony from other witnesses and could lead to additional questioning that way. It is also because it was produced so late, because if it was produced earlier and we would have had the chance to watch that, we could have been prepared for those questions when those witnesses testified. It's also clear from the video that there may be other additional people that we need to attempt to reach out to, attempt to find. And also, as some of the officers have testified, that there may possibly be dash cam videos, and again, we would ask the court to instruct the state to reach out to every single officer on that scene that was in a police car and double check and confirm if they had a dash cam, and if they did, where that video is, and if that has been turned over or not.
Well, I'm assuming, and I know that's not a good thing to do, but after so many years I've found it's not always bad, that there may be exculpatory evidence that you look for also, which has nothing to do with this hearing. It has more to do with the final trial. Anything in existence that has not been turned over, just by the court simply say, well, it hasn't been turned over by now, it's not going. We're not going to admit it. In which there's always a possibility that there's something exculpatory. However faint that may be. Dash cam videos, in my experience, probably had the same experience, record only where they point. And most of these cars, according to most of all the testimony, that they're out on the street, out on Highway 81, blocking traffic, and they're not gonna be able to give us a whole lot, but we don't know until they're produced.
Well, and I can state after watching the video that was produced this morning, there are at least 3 vehicles that at some point were in the driveway of the home and were pointed in the direction of the home.
And then, of course, the testimony we have is that they lost all of their videos, if they did have some, but they had a hack to their server, or whoever was storing all that stuff. So I don't know whether that's gonna be able to be reproduced or not. But the way I heard it, it's like it's gone forever. All right,
And
we hear from the state.
And if I could just add just very briefly to that, the concern is not just the potential for exculpatory evidence, it's that, you know, those dash cams in this video that we received today bear explicitly on the Jackson Denham hearing. So it's not that this would be stuff that if we just get to the later date, we could get prepared for trial and use it if we got to trial. This is stuff that would matter for this very hearing.
No, I think you made it very clear that even witnesses that when they testified, other questions may have to be asked that were not asked.
Yes.
Because you didn't know this name existed. It's sort of like preparing for a ball game with all your players ready to play, and then all of a sudden you find out your star quarterback can't play. You've got to configure your plan based on that. And you now found the other side has a star player that you didn't think was going to play.
Exactly.
Or maybe not a star player. Don't know. Don't know how he's going to perform. Let me hear from the state, though.
Thank you, Your Honor. Your Honor, I want to obviously make it clear for the record, state's in the same position of having a ball game without having the star player or knowing if we have the star player. I had talked to this officer about finding it. He had looked for it. We didn't have it. So I want to make it very clear to the court and to the defense. I can't give them something that I don't have. It was not withheld in any way, shape, or form. Deliberately, I did not have it. As soon as I got it at 8:30 this morning, I turned it over to the defense. I thought I made a copy. It turns out I didn't make it accurate. I didn't make a copy. I had to make them another copy. Technology's not my thing. I apparently had 2 blank discs.
I sympathize with you.
So that took a minute, and that's my fault. We were able to get it on a flash drive that they gave us, and then I was able to copy it to a flash drive that I had. That being said, I just want to make it very clear, this was not in any way, shape, or form deliberate. The officer wasn't doing anything deliberate. He had looked for it before, looked for it again, and lo and behold, he found it. Obviously, we would have all liked to have this. This would have obviously changed some of the questions I asked, some more probing issues that I would have done. Obviously, any officers that were there at the scene, I would have had them watch the body cams to help them recollect what happened, and I was not able to do that as well. So I want to make that very clear that we would have all benefited having it sooner, but we have it now. I understand the defense's position, that they have some things that they have to do. I've watched the body camera. There are some things that I believe some of the witnesses may need to watch the body camera if they are going to be, and there are some officers milling around there that honestly I don't know who they are. I'm not sure who they are. A couple of faces I recognize that come in the camera briefly, but some of these officers that are there that, again, this is this one officer's body camera, so it's whoever crosses his path in the camera lens that come across his path. There are a couple of folks that I see that I don't recognize. I think what the video does show is it does support what the officers are saying as far as folks being cuffed, folks being uncuffed, and at the end everybody was uncuffed, and I recognize that that is something that the defense now has to contend with, because before they only had testimony that supported that, and now we have video that supports that. So I do recognize that there are some things that they may need to gather, and the state's in the same position. There might be some witnesses that now I would like to show them the body camera. Obviously, Officer Phillips, now that he has found it, he has watched his own body camera, but there are other officers that testified that they should probably have the benefit of watching the body camera as well. And so I'm not thrilled with the idea of stopping it.
I'm not thrilled with it either, but I don't think there's an option.
But I understand. Yes, Your Honor. I'm not, like I said, I'm not thrilled with it, but I understand the need for it, and the need is also on the state side, if I'm being candid with the court, so that we can have officers who previously might have said, well, I think it was this, but I'm not sure, the video shows definitively what happened, and they would be able to recall, and it would be able to refresh their recollection now that they see themselves on video.
All right, well, my own personal experience is I was a lawyer once. I still am, just don't practice law. And I became a judge, and I got a phone call about testifying in a divorce case. One of my clients wanted me to testify about an anti-nuptial agreement I had prepared. And of course, I answered their questions the best I could do from my memory. I didn't have a file, didn't even have the anti-nuptial agreement. What I did remember, at least I thought I remembered correctly, turned out to be totally incorrect. And I kept telling them, I said, you understand, I'm basing what I'm saying on my memory, but I'd sure like to have my file and review it before I can testify. And sure enough, I was able to locate the file, able to review it, and found out that everything I had told them was 180 degrees backwards. Instead of going east, things went west. Instead of seeing approach from the north, things came from the south. It was just, my memory was not as good as I thought. And that was back when I was a lot younger, 20-something years ago. But I did testify truthfully once I was under oath as to what my recollection having been refreshed. So I understand having documents, having a video is very helpful. So and it will be beneficial to both sides to spend some time with their witnesses, those who have testified and those who have not, and review all of that. And then, rather than continue on and just shoot in the dark, it's better that all the witnesses have an opportunity, including Mr. Baker and any other witnesses that they may have coming forward. So I will have no choice to continue the hearing, but right now I think we need to get Mr. Officer Phillips in, let him continue with the, I don't know, I guess he would need to be resworn, but we can do that. Put him back under oath and then go into questioning about how all this came about. And then we can excuse him. You might want to keep McCoy here, only because you can then review the video with him or have him come back after lunch or he's been subpoenaed for the whole day. Whatever time the defense may need, they've got their video copy. But I'll leave that up to y'all when you do that. We will not necessarily reschedule. I know we've got a scheduling order out there that I don't think the dates are set in concrete yet, but we're sort of moving in that direction. Let me ask at this time, how many more witnesses does the state have after McCoy?
Sergeant LaCroix is the last witness with regards to the Jackson Deno hearing. And then I know that we have two other hearings, one regarding the arrest warrant and one regarding the search warrants, and Detective LaCroix would be testifying on both of those. The majority of that is going to be argument, but he would be testifying briefly on both of those.
Would this video impact either one of those motions?
I don't think so, Judge, no.
Okay.
No.
And so we'll probably have this remainder of the afternoon to finish, I say the afternoon, we haven't gotten here yet, but we're rapidly approaching. So let's get Officer Phillips in and let's get him under oath and find out how this thing came about. I'm sure there's a lot of areas that can be explored, get the foundation laid, then just suspend the hearing on the Jackson Deno, and we'll finish this up later. And we'll leave it open so y'all have a chance to review it. Of course, I'm gonna have to rely on both sides on this and look at it. I have not and cannot until such time as it's submitted. In fact, it gets submitted. So I'm just gonna rely on y'all to search it. And I believe if I were sitting in your shoes, I'd do everything I could not to have to ask for this, but you know you gotta do what you gotta do. Sometimes it's not always what you want to do, it's what you gotta do. And it's the prudent thing to do. And so I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna continue it. Until that time, let's get Officer Phillips in, please, and get him on the stand. And then we'll move into the afternoon session after lunch. We'll start lunch a little early. In fact, we finish a little early. We don't know what Officer Phillips' testimony is going to be about this yet.
Gotcha. Judge, may I put one more thing on the record? With regards to defense asking about dash cam, to my knowledge, everything that we have has been turned over. I will check again with property and evidence, but I am newer to the case, and to my knowledge, previous prosecutors had turned everything that we have over I will gladly go through that with defense counsel, make sure that they have every disc that we have, that they have everything that we have. And the only thing I can do is check with property and evidence again and make sure that we have everything out of there. But from what I'm seeing in our file, which is a very extensive file, it looks like we have everything from property and evidence. And this, to my knowledge, was the one thing that we did not have that obviously I couldn't turn it over. And when I asked about it, I don't remember when it was, when we first initially started preparing for these motions, and I honestly don't remember the exact date, Judge. That was when we started talking about, it was my personal body cam, because I didn't think officers had body camera at the time, and turns out I was right.
believe employed them for their own protection in case allegations were made against them, and they wanted to not have someone making an allegation of something that did not occur. They had a video of what did occur to help them. Now, whether or not they ever got utilized that, because I don't know. It would probably be prudent from our experience in having things turn up at the last minute, which just seems to continue to happen in the county. And I don't have that problem in other counties, but then again, maybe they have the same problem in those cases I don't get to hear. I don't know. But it wouldn't hurt to go back and obviously to identify the officers, that you get other officers to identify these officers who may have some knowledge of whether their vehicle had a camera on it or not, and what may not have been turned in. It got preserved for whatever reason. Sometimes they can get preserved. And property and evidence, sometimes a second look, they find things they didn't see the first time. It wouldn't hurt them to turn over everything. And next, I would also say the two precincts that had north and south did things totally different. That they both had different ways of storing stuff, and so that maybe what they asked them to look a little closer. They also should have a list of which cars had cam recorder dash cams in them on the date in question. And once you can identify all the various officers, you should identify all the cars assigned to them from the records of that day. They would have a car assignment and what they were driving. I think he would voice it. Mine went in the shop and had it different, but they still would have a record of what he got assigned. So essentially, they should have all those records. I don't know how far back they would go, but within 7 years, which is the IRS timeline. So I suppose you should be able to find that. And then from that, you'll be able to determine which cars in fact had maybe dash cams. The cars that are in the driveway might be the most important once you identify those cars, which might be able to be done through talking to the various witnesses. So obviously there's a lot to be done. I think that we can move forward with Officer Phillips at this juncture. Let's bring him in.
All right, thank you, Judge.
Is that my copy, or do you need a
I
copy?
got some of the witnesses.
That's yours. Okay, so you can see.
Raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you give this court shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God? You can have a seat.
All right, Officer Phillips. After all, you were about the softest spoken of all of the witnesses we've had so far. I need to be close to that microphone. Yes, sir. And there's going to be questions concerning the video that you provided to the state, I believe, yesterday. I don't know, we may go further, but I think basically with this foundation, we'll suspend the hearing until they've had a chance to closely examine the video over a number of views and do some research as far as who they may need to talk to, what questions they need to ask of other options that were testified, and maybe other options they haven't identified yet, or might be identified as a result of having your body cam. State, you want to go first?
Yes, thank you, Your Honor. Go ahead and state your name for the record, Dan.
Matthew Phillips.
Okay, and Officer Phillips, we've already established you are a K-9 officer with the Henry County Police Department.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, and we've also established that you've already testified that you were out at 3300 Highway 81 in McDonough back on October 27th, 2016. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. At the time, did Henry County Police Department issue body cameras to officers?
No, ma'am.
Okay. At the time, did you have your own personal body cam that you yourself I guess, paid for and used?
I did.
Okay. Previously, when you and I were preparing for this hearing, or coming up to the first time that it was set, you and I discuss that you had a personal body cam?
Yes.
Okay. Did we discuss that you believed that you had turned it into property and evidence?
Yes, we did.
Did we also discuss that I did not have it?
Yes.
Okay. Did we discuss that you would look through your stuff and see if you could find a copy of that body cam video from that day? Okay. And prior to this hearing this week, did you do that? Did you look for it?
Yes.
Okay. And prior to this week, had you been able to locate it?
I had not been.
Okay. And did you contact me last evening?
Yes, ma'am.
And did you find the body cam last
I
evening?
did.
Okay. And what did I ask you to do with regards to having that body cam?
Make a copy of it and bring it to you.
Okay. And did you do that this morning?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And did you review the body cam this morning?
I did.
Okay. And well, let me show you. State's Exhibit 5. May I approach, Your Honor?
Amen.
I'm going to show you State's Exhibit 5. And did we make a copy of it? You brought me your own flash drive, is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so where did you find the body cam?
The videos?
Yes.
On a external hard drive.
Okay, in your home?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, and did you make a copy of what was on the external hard drive and put it on a flash drive?
I did.
Did you bring that flash drive to me this morning?
Yes.
Did I then, make 2 unsuccessful disk copies? Okay, did I then eventually make 2 successful flash drive copies, one for the defense and one here?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, and have you viewed what's on here?
I have.
And are these your initials on there on State's Exhibit 5?
Yeah.
And your badge number?
Correct.
And does that show that it accurately represents the body cam that you recorded that day back on October 27, 2016?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, this time state tenders State's Exhibit 5.
All right, well, we have questions you want to ask about all this before we?
Yeah, yes, Judge, I just have a few questions. I suppose they would be in the form of voir dire questions concerning the admissibility of this or the authentication of it. Officer Phillips, do you have a listing of the files? Let me rephrase this question. The video system that you had records in 3-minute increments, right?
Yes, ma'am.
So the relevant video for this incident is broken up over a number of segments, right?
Correct.
Do you happen to have a list of those segments or know the number of segments or anything of that nature?
Looking at the files, actual video files individually, you open the scan disc up, it will say it's either the very beginning or the very end. It'll be a 1 and then 2 and then 3, so on and so forth.
Absolutely. So if I'm looking at the listing here, and my question's here to make sure that we've got everything and we're not, I'm not missing any, and the court's not missing any. So I see those last 3 digits that you're talking about. There's 001, and we have 002 all the way through 008. Does that mesh with your recollection? And then we have 2 other ones that are also 001 and 002, but they are a different timestamp. They're later. Is that your recollection as well?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Now, there are do you remember the timestamps or the approximate times that these videos were created?
If I had to take a wild guess, approximately it would be between maybe 9:50 in the morning and 10:10 in the morning, if I had to guess.
And when I just asked about these 8 that are sequential and then these 2 that are separate, can you just enlighten the court about how that happened, why they're two different numbers, and whether or not you recall anything about a break in time between
Sure.
these first 8 and these last 2. Did my
So-
question make sense?
Yes, ma'am, it does.
Great, thank you.
So, in reference to the break in the numerical order, refer back to my, submittal statement I submitted, submitted yesterday, it's, reading back to my body camera. I turned it off previously, it had been used the night before, trying to conserve battery life. I turned it off and there was kind of a lull and everything, and then once Ms. Head started speaking to me, I reactivated.
And sir, there's about a 10-minute gap, that much with your recollection, there's about a 10-minute gap between when you turn it off and when you turn it back on to speak with Ms. Head. Does that sound about right?
If that's what the time you're saying, I would say yes.
Okay. But you don't have any other independent recollection of it? Okay. If I may have just one moment. Sir, so that you stopped recording the first time in order to preserve batteries, and is that your testimony? Did I have that right? And then you started up again, and when you ended recording that second time, what was the reason that
That's what I was leaving the scene.
you were leaving the scene? Was it because your battery died or anything like that?
I was no longer needed the scene.
Okay. I don't have any further questions. Thank you, sir.
Anything further from the state?
No, Your Honor, thank you.
All right, let me ask a question for clarification. Was there at the time, we're dealing with October 27, 2016, any policy from the police department about officers deploying their own body cam, what they were to do with their recordings?
So, Your Honor, it was, no actual policy set in place. One policy we had for the recording would be for the department supply dash cameras.
You would say that again, you,
Would be for the supply dash cameras would be the only ones that would actually have a policy for us.
so was there a policy, obviously, that you had one, or had to ask permission to have your own body cam, or was it just a policy that you had your own?
We could deploy our own.
You didn't have to tell anybody, or, okay. Did you have a standard practice or procedure for yourself, since it was your own body camera, when you would turn it on and turn it off?
Yes, sir.
And what was that policy?
All the practice that I would do for my body camera. Excuse me.
I'm sorry, can you all speak in the microphone?
Sure.
Yeah.
The practice I would do for my body camera, whenever I was on an active scene, I would activate it. If there was something going on worth note, I would turn it off. If I ever made an arrest, if there was any kind of scene I was on that was something that would have possibly been used for evidence in court, I would download the video footage to my county computer, get a DVR disc, vertical disc, put it in and upload it to that, write in the case number, and the date, and submitting it into evidence with a property evidence form.
So when you finish this particular date, that when you do that?
Yes.
Sometime after
It
your
would,
shift,
correct,
and you do it at home
either at home or at work,
with your own laptop,
with the county laptop.
county laptop? Did that laptop go with you everywhere?
Yes,
Okay, so it didn't stay in the office building, it was yours, you moved around?
Yes.
Have you had a new one since 2016?
sir,
Have you had a new one since 2000?
I have,
And you said an external hard drive,
yes,
so it was saved not to the laptop, but to the external.
yes.
Is that where all your videos are saved?
Once they would be saved to the computer first,
Right.
and then transfer it over. But the extra hard drive I found yesterday contained reports I had from 2016 to 2019. It was what was on my old computer. When I got issued my new one, I had to dump everything from that one to be able to turn it in.
Is it the same hard drive you had for your 16 computer that you
Yes.
use now?
No,
No, so it was one that's just in your house
Right.
somewhere.
yes,
It's been there ever since, you hadn't,
yes,
nobody's had possession of it.
correct.
Okay. That's a proper question by the state.
No, Your Honor.
It did, one question for me, Your Honor. Officer, do you happen to recall whether or not any other officers at the scene had a body cam, a personal body cam as well, or had a policy similar to what the judge was asking you about turning those kinds of cameras on?
No, ma'am, I knew the few gentlemen officers on my shift that would have them. As far as they want to talk about it, I do not know.
Any of those officers that you knew that had cameras, did they respond to the scene?
They did not.
They did not. Thank you very much, sir.
Well, I'm gathering, they have questions as a result of that.
Yes, Your Honor, I do. Thank you. Officer Phillips, so just to be clear, you were working the overnight shift at the time. Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so you were getting off shift when this call came out from Officer Fergoli looking for backup.
Correct.
Okay, and so to your recollection and based on what you observed in the video, do you believe that you were the only officer from your shift that appeared here at this scene on the October 27th?
Yes.
Okay, and so when you're saying you don't know about the officers on day shift, that's because they're not on your shift, you don't keep up with them? Okay. Thank you, that's all I have.
So the question then would be, I suppose, or the comment I would make is that the day shift folks, maybe someone in that shift would remember who may have body cams in their shift, but they'll have to be asked the question. So, all right, any reason this witness should not step down?
No, Your Honor.
All
No
right,
reason for the defense.
you can step down. Thank you for your time again. That will suspend this hearing. I'm not going to issue a ruling, obviously, on the disability. This is not necessary at this time. But the flash drive will need to be turned over to the court because it's been tendered.
Yes, Your Honor.
She'll hold on to it, and we will suspend this and we'll come back. Since it's so, this will give us an hour and a half lunch. We'll come back at 1:15 and we'll start on the other issues we got. And as much as I hate the late arriving videos, it's better to have all the information we can have before this thing, decisions are made. So it still frustrates me, but there's nothing I can do about it. A long time ago, not beat my head up against the brick wall. It's not going to be moved based on my head. So it's hard, but not that hard. All right, we'll be back at 1:15. Thank you.
I just put that back.
Oh, okay.
No, yeah, I got everything.
No, I appreciate it.
You're
I just
welcome.
wanted to double check. Thank you so much. Yeah, you guys were way ahead of it than me.
What do I have? Oh, it's like, you know what I have. I have all my stuff. I have my whoopee. You know, my security blanket, all my stuff. All right.
I was so close to having my dream with Daniel.
I'm not here to start the trouble. We better not be. I'm just here to do the Super Bowl show. Go ahead, Icky.
That was off. That was way off, sorry.
You know, I moved to Atlanta in December of '85, and it was the very next month when the Bears did it.
Okay.
We're
I'm going.
All right.
What do you have? I'll start with yours before.
gonna take the car.
No, you know what? Leave it. You're right. I'm gonna Can I not have separation anxiety? Here.
Look, just like when my wife gave birth, breathe, just breathe deep.
She's doing the best she can.
Yeah, that's all we can do.
Don't make fun of me, you know?
No,
You know I have to have my stuff.
just like High School Musical, we're all in this together.
You never saw that.
Yeah, I didn't either, but my daughters rolled their
I was
eyes.
gonna say.
When I say that, my daughters rolled
Seemed
their
like
eyes.
something you would have seen.
You seemed like you've seen it.
I just remember them singing it.
What did you just say, 1:30?
1:15.
Oh, 1:15, I'm sorry. Okay. Sorry, I missed you. I'm gonna let the car go, so,
1:15.
no, 1:10-ish,
Ish.
we'll have to come back at 10-ish. Alright. Thank you, sir.
Sorry. It's all right, not me. Okay.